The sun was dipping low over the rolling hills of Willow Creek, casting a golden glow on the wild daisies I'd planted just weeks ago. My name's Henry Larson, 56 years old, a carpenter who spent a lifetime building things that last, just like my father and his father before him. Those daisies weren't just flowers, they were a tribute to my grandfather, who'd hammered together our family cabin in 1950, right after he returned from the Korean War. Every plank, every nail in that cabin held his sweat and dreams, a legacy he left us on a quiet plot in this sleepy Oregon town. I never imagined those daisies would spark a war that had turned my world upside down. Picture this, a crisp September morning in 2024, I'm out front with a steaming mug of coffee, planting those flowers to mark what would have been Grandpa's 95th birthday. The air smells like pine and fresh dirt, and my wife, Clara, is inside whipping up her famous apple cinnamon pancakes. Life feels good, grounded. Then I hear Ida's sharp, commanding voice slicing through the calm. "Mr. Larson, you're in violation." I turn to see Margaret Voss, the president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, striding toward me like she owns the ground beneath my feet. She's clutching a clipboard like it's a weapon, her sleek black suit screaming money, her eyes blazing with the kind of authority that makes your stomach twist. She's been running this community like her personal fiefdom since she moved here from California 3 years ago. What I didn't know then was that Margaret was moonlighting as an online HOA enforcement guru, coaching others on how to bully homeowners for profit. And I was about to become her next case study. "Mr. Larson," she snapped, waving her clipboard, "these daisies violate Code 14.6 unauthorized landscaping. That's a $200 fine, due in 5 days. I stood there, dirt smudged on my hands, staring at this woman who thought she could fine me for honoring my grandfather. "Margaret, these are just flowers for my grandpa. He built this cabin. It's personal." Her lips curled into a smirk. "Rules are rules. And frankly, this shack of yours drags down property values for everyone." That hit me like a hammer to the chest. My grandpa's cabin, an eyesore? I noticed her glancing at her phone, probably recording for her online students. Later, I'd learned she was live streaming to show off her tough love enforcement tactics, raking in $600 a session. But then, karma threw the first punch. As she jabbed her pen at me, lecturing about community standards, my sprinkler system kicked on. A jet of water nailed her square in the back, soaking her fancy suit and turning her perfectly styled hair into a soggy mess. Papers flew from her clipboard, scattering like leaves in a storm. I bit back a laugh as she scrambled after them, cursing about official documentation. Then she spun around, mascara streaking, and dropped the bomb. "You have 72 hours to demolish this cabin, or I'll file for municipal demolition with liens." My laughter died. Demolish my grandfather's legacy? Over daisies? I poured another coffee, sat with Clara, and started digging through old family documents. What we found would change everything. That night, around 1 a.m., I caught Margaret on my security camera, dressed like a cat burglar, snipping my daisies with kitchen shears. She tripped over Grandpa's old stone fountain, landing in a puddle of mud, still clutching those flowers like some twisted prize. Clara and I watched from the window, stunned. "Henry," she whispered, "your grandpa always talked about special protections for this place. Let's find out what he meant." Buried in a dusty box, we found a 1975 land development contract, set to expire on November 30th, 2024. The fine print was a gold mine. Our family owned every inch of Willow Creek's land, leased to the community for $1 a year. And when the lease renewed, we could charge market rates. Margaret had no idea she was standing on my land, threatening my home. The next morning, I woke to find my truck spray painted with "Violator" in neon yellow and the memorial fence where Grandpa's bronze star hung smashed to splinters. I held that dented metal, my blood boiling. Clara saw the fire in my eyes and said, "Call the lawyer, Henry. No more playing nice." By noon, a nervous knock interrupted my work in the shed. It was Paul, Margaret's husband and the HOA's accountant, looking like he hadn't slept in months. "Henry, I need to tell you something," he said, glancing over his shoulder. Over coffee, he spilled everything. Margaret was running an online HOA Mastery Academy, teaching intimidation tactics for $600 a pop. She'd made $52,000 that year alone, mixing it with $28,000 in embezzled HOA funds. Paul showed me screenshots of her coaching calls, where she bragged about forcing 15 families out of their homes with fake violations. She'd forged documents to frame Paul for the theft, threatening his accounting license if he didn't comply. "She's planning to film your cabin's demolition for her advanced course," he whispered, handing me a USB drive. My hands shook as I realized this wasn't just about might was a predator's business model, built on destroying lives. That afternoon, Margaret marched over with a demolition notice, written in green marker because her printer jammed. Her phone kept auto-correcting my name to Horrible Pirate, and when she tried measuring my property line, she tangled herself in her own tape measure, hopping around like a deranged kangaroo, still lecturing me about setbacks. I kept my cool, but inside, I was grinning. Grandpa's contract was my ace. That evening, Clara and I pored over the documents with our lawyer. The 1975 agreement allowed us to adjust rents to market value $180,000 per lot per year, based on Willow Creek's skyrocketing property values. Every house, including Margaret's, sat on our land. I drafted a lease renewal notice, bumping her rent from $1 to $540,000, triple the market rate for her troublemaking. At noon the next day, I knocked on her door, calm as a summer breeze. "Ms. Voss, as your landlord under the 1975 Willow Creek contract, here's your new lease. Rent's $540,000, starting December 1st. Her face froze, like she'd been hit with a 2x4. She stammered, "This isn't legal. I own this house." I held up the contract. "You own the house. I own the land. Always have." Margaret's world unraveled faster than a cheap sweater. She tore through her briefcase, muttering about deeds, then Googled how to void land leases right in front of me. Her legal team was a cousin's kid fresh out of law school, whose voicemail picked up every time. Paul showed up with the USB drive, exposing her embezzlement, fake documents, and plans to sell my land for $3 million to developers. Her online students were turning on her, posting one-star reviews. Her tactics got me sued. Total fraud. By evening, the community center was packed for an emergency HOA meeting. A local reporter, Sophie Miller, was live-streaming, her viewer count hitting 20,000. Margaret rolled in with a PowerPoint labeled The Henry Problem, complete with crayon-drawn charts blaming my cabin for tanking property values. But the AC broke, leaving her sweating buckets, and the microphone screeched every time she raised her voice. When she spilled coffee on her blouse, the crowd stifled laughs. I stood up, holding the 1975 contract. "Folks, Willow Creek is built on Larson family land. Every house, every street it's ours, leased for $1 a year. That lease expires soon, and Margaret's been fleecing you all." Paul plugged in the USB, projecting her crimes. Bank records, coaching videos, emails plotting to sell my land. Her own voice boomed. "Threatened demolition, first you'll cave." The room erupted. Mrs. Thompson, a 70-year-old neighbor, shouted, "You're no presidentiary thief." The crowd voted unanimously to oust Margaret and press charges. I handed her an invoice for $1 to fix the fence she broke, saying, "That's what your integrity's worth." The applause was deafening, and Sophie's stream hit 50,000 viewers. Margaret's empire crumbled fast. She tried filing a federal lawsuit, but the courthouse clerk explained they don't handle landlord disputes. The DA opened an embezzlement case, and the IRS nailed her for unreported $52,000 in income. The FBI linked her to a California partner, Victor Reed, in a property theft ring that forced 70 families out of homes across 8 states, pocketing $10 million. Victims came forward. An elderly couple sued for $50,000 over fines for their grandkids' chalk drawings. A veteran filed federal charges for flag harassment. Margaret's desperate rebrand of her academy flopped, and her crowdfunding for legal fees raised $15 from fake accounts. Sophie's video, "Carpenter Crushes HOA Tyrant," went viral with 600,000 views, sparking a national conversation about HOA abuse. Weeks later, a call from Victor's ex-wife, Ellen Reed, flipped the script. Henry, Margaret's real name, is Catherine Marie Thompson. She's been scamming since 1995, targeting 250 families across 18 states. Ellen revealed Catherine stole her home in 2007, framing Victor as the mastermind. The FBI found a Seattle storage unit with Catherine's victim files, including psychological profiles and plans to sell my cabin for $3 million. She'd weaponized veterans' pride, seniors' fears, and families' vulnerabilities. At her sentencing, Catherine got 18 years for racketeering, fraud, and tax evasion. But before prison, she showed up at my cabin, broken and gray-haired. Henry, I grew up in foster care, lost everything to an HOA scam at 18. I became the monster I hated, but your fight broke me open. You showed me what real strength is building, not destroying. She handed me an envelope with victim names and restitution checks, then left, saying, "Your daisies are beautiful. Your grandpa would be proud." Today, Willow Creek thrives under Mrs. Thompson's leadership. My consulting business helps 300 communities fight HOA tyrants, and Congress is drafting anti-HOA laws.